welcome to Trader Tuesday. Good friend Leslie Fourton is our guest today. Leslie and I have known each other for quite a few years, I guess. We shared a hotel room at one of Scott Rubel's events, and I got to know Leslie pretty well. He's a really interesting guy, a musician. I play violin, he plays drums, so we're not kind of the same instruments, but more music in our blood. And interesting background, Leslie, of how you got to law school and hedge funds and securities attorney and CMT and lots of stuff to talk about. So welcome. It's good to have you here.
Well, good to be here, Tom. Yeah, you too. I mean, you have a very interesting background. Uh, Needless to say, being in the Air Force and uh, experienced pilot, we met. We must have met. Well, we definitely met back. I would say in the late '90s, right? Or even maybe even.
Probably. I was at a couple of Sheridan reunions. I don't know if
Yeah,
you went to any of those.
I did. Yeah, yeah. I was
That
thinking.
could have been the
I was
first
thinking about.
time.
I was thinking about optionetics. Now, I guess we met during the Sheridan. Uh,
Yeah, probably like 2007, 8 time frame, something like that.
right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I know that the percussion, the drumming stuff's pretty interesting. So I know you toured with some famous people like Miles Davis, right?
Yeah, and Esther Phillips and Lionel Hampton.
Oh wow,
And
big names.
uh, I never actually toured with Miles, but I met him several times. Uh,
Okay.
I remember when I was about 16, maybe yeah, it must have been 16, 17. I was pumping gas in a gas station in Connecticut, in Wilton, Connecticut, and and he pulled in, and I got to drive his car, and we were driving around, in the gas station, washing his car and the like, and that was pretty amazing. And then I met him several other times too. It's several concerts, but
How fun.
yeah, uh,
So so you were a professional musician and then I guess the next steps were what, you went to law school or did the hedge fund stuff?
yeah. No, I started out as a professional musician as a member of Local 802 here in New York, and I worked with Esther Phillips, Lionel Hampton, and a lot of other people. Did a lot of TV work and several Broadway shows, and then I decided to go back to school. So I went to Columbia University and undergrad, and then followed through law school, and became interested in the environment, and went to work as a federal prosecutor in Washington at U.S. DOJ and then U.S. EPA. And then I came back to New York for family reasons, and I started working in securities law at J.P. Morgan Chase, and then doing some criminal law back then too, as well, and a lot of different kinds of cases and the like. So I became interested in securities, though, from working at J.P. Morgan Chase down on Fifth Avenue, and I want to say and 43rd Street at the time. And then I became interested in well, I went to optionetics originally with George Fontanelle's, and went to a number of those seminars. I must have been around 1988, because I remember vividly meeting George and Tom Gentile, and they were at a seminar in San Diego, and I'll never forget it, because Tom Gentile was making a joke and a wisecrack about an experience he had with giving advice to a particular trader over Qualcomm, and he was telling them that they were bragging about how much money they made, when it was going up, and he said, "Well, you better get out, you better get out, you better get out," and then and at the end of the story, well, as he put it, he said, they lost everything they had because they didn't get out, and but George, as you know, he was into all these types of flies and the like, and putting on all sorts of legs, and it was interesting. And he had an interesting website too. And Tom Gentile is still around. I think he's trading out of Atlanta, Georgia now. I'm not sure. Last I heard. Um,
Yeah, I had a session with him. We went over his software and
I
I
remember.
also I also met those two, George and Tom, at a seminar in Vegas. And
Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty fun.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so So then you did all that, and then you ended up at a hedge fund trading.
Yeah. And so then back then I used to go to other seminars too that were given by Tom Joseph and um, Mike Quanbeck was another guy. And I ended up studying with Mike Quanbeck, and he was a trader that worked with Peter Stottlemyre and Market Profile.
Hmm.
I went out to his house a couple of times in Wisconsin. He was a trader on the floor for many years, and he used to work with Peter Stottlemyre. Anyway, well, back then, I met a guy by the name of Dane Chin, who was a CMT at the Chartered Market Technicians Association, and he was running a hedge fund. And I used to go and watch him trade here in the city. And I was intrigued by the way he was using technical analysis. So I started taking one seminar after another at the New York School of New York City School of Finance. And Ralph Alcampora, who began the CMT Association, was teaching one seminar, for example. Dane Chin was as well, and a number of other people. And so I just kept taking those seminars, and then I started studying with a technician, Connie Brown, and she had several books out at the time. You were tested on those books and the like. And so then I met somebody else by the name of the Option Queen, Jeanette Schwartz Young, who was a trader on the floor of the COMEX and the NIBOT. And so she invited me to come and I started grading the exams back then. They invited me to grade one, and then they invited me to grade another, and I kept grading more and more exams. And this has been going on for years now. But then I started writing the questions for Elliott Wave and behavioral finance and several other topics. And I'm still grading those exams as I have another one coming up in June. But anyway, so she invited me to the floor, and then that was a whole experience trading on the floor, because I had to go back and prove myself to the traders every Wednesday, because they would test you. You come, and then they wouldn't like what you did. You do one thing wrong, and they wouldn't let you trade. So you had to keep going back and to a point of impressing them enough to so they'd let you in the pit or the pits. And so I used to trade Russell 2000 and coffee and mostly sugar. And then I moved over to gold and silver and focused on gold and silver. But anyway, and I was there before ICE came on board. And ICE, as you know, came on board and started, taking away the trading floors. And first they took away, I think we were on the ninth floor, as I remember, at the COMEX and the NIBOT, and where it has sugar and cotton and coffee and the Russell 2000. And I can vividly remember where each one of those pits used to be. And then they closed down the pits. ICE did to say the Intercontinental Exchange, and then they slowly but surely, only had the options traders. And then they closed down that floor. And then everybody moved down to the third floor, whatever it was, where crude oil was, and the crude, natural gas, and gold and silver were down there. And then everybody moved down there, and then or as many traders that could possibly fit down there. And then they started getting rid of everybody else and just only had the options traders. So then at one point only the options traders were left. And then they eventually closed down that whole building. And I have vivid memories actually of one day when the landlord came in there, or the landlords came in, and they were doing a tour, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with that space, because the ceilings were so high from the pits that they wanted to turn them into apartments. I don't know whether they actually ever did. I'm sure that they probably did. But anyway, that was a whole experience. With the whole experience because of the notion of proving yourself to the traders that were on the floor, and staying out of their way, and learning what not to do. That was the big key, for me anyway, the learning experience, or one of the many points of things that I learned, what not to do, what not to do, what not to do, how to stay out of other people's way, and get your price in, and know what you were doing. But I must say that those gold and silver pits, wow, they were manipulated. I don't know whether they still are, but I'm sure that silver still is. But it was a very tight click, and very clicky, very clicky environment. Gold and silver, not sugar, and not well, cotton was, because a lot of those guys were there I remember one guy, Jamie, who had been in sugar for over 15, 20 years or whatever. Really nice guy. And but there were other, cotton traders that had been there for a long time too, and they were not about to let you, just walk into their area, whatever, So it was interesting. It was a real experience. Anyway, so I did that, and that closed down because of ice and the like, and then I kept as you did too, became affiliated with Dan and Dan Sheridan and the like, and then went to that experience, and then I was working in the same building that I was working in, because I would go over. I would get to work early in the morning too, and then I'd go over to the pits at midday, and I'd come back to the same building, which was downtown in the financial district. And there was a hedge fund in there that was a number of traders like Mark Sperling and Scott Redler, a number of other traders, T3 Capital,
All
and
right.
they were in that building. And then I just started going by and talking to them and the like, and then they moved over. Oh, sorry about that. I got to turn my charts off. That's a signal I listen to, for when the market's getting bullish or more bearish intraday. I just turn it off.
It's
But
starting to
anyway,
sell off a little bit.
yeah, yeah, just turn it off. But anyway, and so then I got to know them, and then I started trading stocks with them, and they're big they're big stock pickers, and I've seen Mark Sperling, make I've seen him make 800,000 in one day. I've seen him lose that much too, but he's a really good trader, and so is Scott Redler and company, and they're still there. I mean, they're still there, and they have a service. You can actually go into some. They used to have a service where you could actually go in and hear what they're doing and what they're not doing. I don't know whether they're still doing it or not, but they used to do that, and it was interesting. But they have a whole trading floor, and then they have their sections as well. So they have the whole floor, and I think I'm trying to remember the name of the group that was on that floor too, or down the hall. I'll think of it in a minute, but. Anyway, there's another trading company that used to be on that floor. I think they moved though, actually, into Midtown. But yeah, so that was everything based on some fundamentals, but mostly technical analysis and intraday stock and swing trading, and also intraday trading as well on stocks.
So you were primarily in the pits trading what, like futures or the actual
The actual stocks.
yeah, the stocks, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and some futures as well for hedging reasons, but mostly stocks, mostly
Yeah.
stocks. That's what they like to do, and options, some options too.
So then you went to the Sheridan got into the options trading world. So how did your trading progress after that?
Yeah, well, I used to do back then. I used to do mostly, I want to say, some calendars, but mostly verticals and condors too as well. And then emulating other traders like you have done as well, like whether it be John Locke or Dan himself or somewhat, and but of course Dan Harvey for sure. I mean, studying with Dan Harvey and emulating what he's been doing too, or was doing back then, and always, and in terms of options, coming back and seeing, what I'm always interested in, in seeing what he's doing. So sort of like Dan Harvey-esque, kind of a style or whatever for my personal trades. But I've also, and then through that time period or whatever, I've always been, interested in futures as well. And currently, that's what I'm doing mostly, intraday and going long on certain stocks, but trading verticals and uh, sometimes just trading condors as well. But mostly trading when I'm trading intraday now, trading futures and trading, on the 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minutes, and using the 1 minute, but it's using some charts, combined with a 1 minute to a 3 minute to take out some of the noise as well. And so trading intraday, usually waiting for the open to occur, and then primarily, after 9:50 and going into 11:30, and then 11:50, and then staying out for lunch, and if I'm trading intraday, and then coming back the last hour and a half as well, because well, today, the last time I looked, they were selling through the lunch hour, but usually, as you know, the lunch hour is the time to stay away, because it just gets very rotational. Yeah. So along the way, I've studied with various people. I mean, I took some courses with Jim Dalton on market profile, and he's another good guy to know about as well, and just various traders, from Dan Harvey to I want to say, but Jim Dalton, he focuses on the market profile. That's his thing, and various other futures traders as well.
So have you, I know you talked about opening up an Apex account. Are you doing that kind of futures trading or just your own accounts?
Just my own accounts at this point, but I'm going to do that though. I'm going to do that by the end of the week. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
for
I know
sure.
they have an 80% off sale that ends today, so don't wait too
Oh,
long.
today? Really?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
what's it going back up to?
I think then the normal is like 71%, so it'll be a little
Better
bit
do
more expensive.
it. Better do it today.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Um, so mostly intraday futures. Are you still doing like options like swing daily like zero GTE, or what kind of are you doing any options trades right now?
Yeah, well, for example, I put on an options trade yesterday. I'm doing stuff like let me see if I can find it. Like I'll take Nvidia, for example, and I sold a 750 put and a 1,000 call for May 17th. So what I'm doing is I'm betting that it's going to stay within that range. It's kind of risky, but I mean, Nvidia could move. But I mean, I'm just giving you an example of this, something I did yesterday. I'm doing
Sure.
that, but I'm doing that, and so, but I'm betting that it's kind of like a semi-condor without being hedged. But after studying it and really watching it closely, I just sold it. I sold the 750 put, and I sold the 1,000 call on May 17th. And then for example, the other day, I in terms of stocks, I put on a vertical on SMCI. I'll do stuff like that if I think it's going to rally, something like that. Or even gold for that matter. I got in a while ago on GLD on vertical, and then I'll trade Bitcoin. I'll wait for it to sell off. I'll watch the ranges in Bitcoin and watch it sell off, or I typically won't do it when it's rallied, because I don't trust it. It could, I'd rather just do it, put on a vertical spread to the upside, a bull spread, and sometimes I'll do ladders doing that. When it's sold off enough, Bitcoin, because it's difficult to uh, you know determine, when it's actually reached its, well, you can see the ranges that it's in. I mean, I want to say it's safer to buy the bull spread as opposed to selling that as well. But that, and also condors as well, the old-fashioned way as well, and in terms of options. But I'm not really trading. I'm trading futures intraday, but not options intraday. Not as of late. I used to do that, but not lately. I haven't been doing that lately, um, admittedly. But futures. So and I like in terms of futures. I like to take the first pullbacks, in a given rally or selling it, and I usually watch a 750 tick, sometimes a 375, but I find that on the E-minis or the SPX for that matter, 750 tick is effective. And lately, I've been trading more intraday, more the Nasdaq too as well. Uh, short-term trades, looking for points to get in, with certain signals that I'm looking for on a pullback, whether it be to the upside or the downside. Has
So
it?
what advice
Huh?
what advice would you give to people who are just starting out with trading?
What would I do? I'm sorry, say that again.
Just what advice would you give somebody who's just starting out with trading?
What about the starting out? What's
Uh,
the
what ad- what advice would you give them?
Oh, definitely, learn both fundamental and technical analysis. Uh, and so you're aware, learn the technicals as well, but maybe you don't want to depend on them, maybe you do, but definitely learn that and learn and from watching other traders, because a lot has been done before, and or it's fair to say everything's been done before, but I don't want to say that, but I would say learn technicals, learn options, start off with just picking. Uh, if you've never traded before at all, I would say the thing to do is to start with stocks. I would say. And if you want to learn more about fundamentals, I mean, you could do a simple thing like buy IBD, Investors Business Daily, and pay attention to what they're saying. I mean, and I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name who wrote a book on stocks. Anyway, you could just easily find out. His first name is William, but look it up. But that's a great way to learn about fundamentals. I mean, just through Investors Business Daily, it's more focused than the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal covers a lot of topics. Another great paper, but Investors Business Daily is
Like
definitely.
William O'Neill?
Yeah, William O'Neill, exactly. He's got several good books that were written, and I would say, and then when you progress more, become aware of various aspects of technical trading, but through swing trading, and on longer time periods. Always looking, and always something to be aware of is the monthly, daily, monthly, weekly, and daily bars. Everybody should be aware of that and be constantly aware of that. But always be aware of that and just learn uh, learn technical analysis, learn fundamental analysis, because it all plays a role. And of course, the fundamentalists are always snickering at the technicians, and the technicians are snickering at the fundamentalists. But that's just something to be aware of. And another guy I've used to study was, or a lot, and met several times, was a technician by the name of Tom DeMark, who now lives in Arizona, but he was highly influential to George Soros and Stephen Cohn, and a lot of people. I mean, with his 9 counts, 13 counts, et cetera, and all that. That's a whole study within itself. But that's just another study within technical analysis. But beginning, I would say definitely start by do simulation trading. Don't jump into anything, because it's true what Dan Sheridan always used to say. They said you can't trade 1,000. What makes you think you can trade 100,000? I mean, it's just you got to trade uh, on a simulator first, definitely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember there was a student that shared a mentoring a lady, her husband was a neurosurgeon, and she was losing 10, 15, 20,000 per trade.
Oh
And
God.
I forget who the mentor was. It might have been Mark, but or Casey Platt. He was like, just scale down, just trade like, two contracts or one, not like 20. And she wouldn't listen. And after about 3 months, she just stopped coming. I think her husband put the foot down. It's you're not doing this anymore.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
But yeah,
Yeah,
just start
I heard
small.
about
It's
that
really good
too.
advice. Yep.
Yeah, another great guy from Sheridan was Mark Benton too.
Well, yeah, and Mark's now with Aramir, so
Yeah, yeah.
happy to have him here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, did you want to talk about the CMT exam at all? Like why people would want to do it, or how does it
Oh yeah,
benefit
sure.
people? Or
Yeah, I mean, if you're serious about technical analysis, definitely check out and strongly consider and even do it. I mean, start studying technicals through the curriculum at the CMT because it walks you through from a beginning to an advanced, stage, and everything's already laid out, and you can just Google. Let me see what their current website is. Let's see. Um, hmm, interesting. Yeah, let's just Google Chartered Market Technicians and yeah, the CMT Association and CMTassociation.org. Definitely, I highly recommend it, and something definitely to work on and work yourself through the program. Highly recommend it. And each stage, I believe that yeah, still levels 1 and 2 are all multiple choice, but there are 3 levels of the examination, and it must be completed in sequence. And only one level per administration permitted, and it's something um, to work on. And there are a lot of members from all over the world there. A lot of people from India actually have come on board. It's kind of interesting, and there are a lot of traders. I mean, through Asia that have the CMT, and in Europe as well, throughout Europe. And so interesting. Level 3 has short answers. They used to be more essay-like structured answers, but currently they're shorter answers and multiple choice as well. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it without question.
so what kinds of areas would you say people get stuck with the most with the technical analysis?
You mean in the program or just
Well,
overall?
program or exams or overall, whatever, what do you think
Yeah,
people
overall,
have the
I
most
think
problem with?
some problematic. I mean, some traders use too many indicators at once, and you just get, it's like one indicator is telling you to do one thing, another indicator is telling you to do another, and then before you know it, you don't even know which way the market's going. I mean, it's just um, you have to become aware of the indicators, but then you have to weed out the ones you like. Like for example, I think the CCI is a very good indicator, for intraday, and you just using it, and also an oscillator. Keeping it simple. Looking at personally, I mean, if I'm trading intraday, I'll look at uh, sometimes I'll just look at the 750 tick, but I'm certainly staying aware of the hourly as well, and the 15-minute as well. So that's very important to know what's going on hourly, and then work yourself down to 15 minutes, maybe even 5 or 3 minutes, and then into ticks. Just to be aware of that. But the point is that in terms of getting hung up, I would say that's true. That a lot of people at a certain level, they get hung up, and they're looking at too many indicators. Too many indicators. Look at the MCD, the RSI, the CCI. Start looking at 13, 34, maybe a 9, 13, 34. Moving averages. Too many moving averages. So that's just something to be aware of. It's a stage of development, really, to go through. Um,
Yeah, my
so
friend Daniel Lyons in Australia, he had two PhDs, one in applied mathematics and one in space cosmology, space physics. And he always said minimize the degrees of freedom. So don't put too many things on your chart.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So and Fibonacci too. I mean that's definitely credible. I mean, to learn how to use that in terms of confluence, like Joe DiNapoli professes. He's the major contributor with that. And but those are just estimates too, though. That's not the Fibonacci are just mere estimates of where the market could be going as opposed to having some way of determining where the market's been on the average, like using a 3-day technique called the Taylor trading technique, something like that. But uh, something to be aware of, though. Definitely Fibonacci. That's a good source. Joe DiNapoli.
I
Used to,
remember that book, his price was a fib extension. It was 162. It was pretty funny.
yeah, DiNapoli levels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. He's a real character. Used to live in, I
Was it
think,
Asia somewhere?
yeah. Well, he lives in
Thailand
Taiwan.
or
Taiwan.
yeah.
He was trading out of Taiwan for a while. I bet he still is. I have to look that up. But he would go over there and stay there for like months end, trading currencies.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, interesting. And he would mostly trade futures, but some options too. But I wonder what he's doing now. I wonder. But yeah,
That could be retired.
yeah, it could be
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, Leslie. Well,
All right, Tom. Well, great.
we usually go about half an hour, so we kind of hit the mark there. So
Oh, good.
it was great to get to know you and see how your trading journey has progressed and
Yeah, thanks
interesting
for having me.
background with percussion and hedge funds and law and yeah, it's really great. And if people want to hear more from Leslie, he runs the technical analysis trading group every Saturday morning. So feel free to stop by and ask him any technical analysis questions or legal or musical questions. Leslie does it all. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it, and
Oh, my pleasure, Tom.
I really value your friendship too.
Yeah, vice versa. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks,
All right.
Leslie. Thanks, everyone, and we will
My
see you
pleasure.
guys next time.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, you too. See ya.
See ya.